So a very important task for an administrator is to check whether a user has access to a certain resource or not. So let's see how we can do that in GCP. So to do that, you can go to your hamburger menu. You can go to your IAM and admin, and you can go to your policy analyzer. Now, I had already covered policy analyzer in the previous section. So the link to that I will give in the description below. So you can just go check that out. So here what you can do is you can go to your create custom query. And let's say that you want to know in this particular project, who all have access to create a storage bucket. So to do that, you can go to your permission. And here you need to give that particular permission. So the permission here would be storage dot bucket dot create. So this will give you all the users who have permission to create a bucket. So let's select this and let's click on add and let's click on run query. So here it will give you all the users as well as service accounts which have access to create a storage bucket. So that includes these two users. And apart from these two users, there are other service accounts which can do that as well. But currently, we are just interested in the users who can do that. So this is the first way. The second way is you can actually use something called as a policy troubleshooter. So let's copy this particular email ID and let's go to the policy troubleshooter. And here the only difference is that you can do it for a specific user. So for this particular specific user, I want to check for, so here I need to add the project. So here for this particular project, whether this particular user has access to create a bucket. So let's go add the same permission again. So let's do the storage bucket create and let's check the API call. And here it tells you that it has access to call that particular or to create that particular bucket. And here it also tells you which particular role has given that particular permission. So it's the owner role within this particular user, that is very lazy coders at gmail.com, which gives this particular user access to create bucket. So let's do one thing. Let's go back to our principal again and let's remove this. So there's another user called Joe Doe at verylazykoders.in. Let's see whether this particular user has let's see whether this particular user has got access to create a storage bucket. So let's take the same permission for the same project and let's click on check API call now. And you can see that for this particular user, there is no role that gives this particular user permission to create a bucket. So what we can do in a situation like this is we can actually create a role, and within that role, we can give him permission to create the storage bucket. And that is generally what you should do. So let's again go back to our IAM and let's go to roles. So what we'll do here is we'll create a custom role. So let's click on create role and let's call this as Joe role to create bucket. So you can give it a convention as well. So to make it easier for you to understand what all are the permissions within this. And let's just make this as a general availability and add permission to this particular role. Now again, we'll add the same permission. So this is going to be dot create. So what we'll do is we'll just give this particular permission. Let's click on add now and let's create. And once this role has been created, what we need to do is we need to go to IAM and give Joe access to that particular role so that he gets permission as well. So again, let's go to our main IAM page. And here is Joe. So let's edit his permission and let's add a new role. So let's click on add role. And here, let's go to custom role and let's give Joe create bucket permission and let's click on save. Okay, once that is done, again, let's go back to our policy troubleshooter and let's again select Joe. Okay, for the same project now. And let's do again storage dot bucket dot create and let's check API call now. And you can see that initially it does not work, so it takes a few minutes for this to get propagated. So let's just wait for a minute and let's see whether it works. Okay, so I ran the same command after a few minutes and now you can see that this particular user, Joe, has access to create a storage bucket. And now you can also see the permission or the role which gave it permission. So you can just click on this. So it was this particular role. So it was custom role 616. So this is basically the custom role that we had created. So if you go back to your roles, you can see that the Joe role create bucket has an ID of custom role 616. So this is how you can use your custom roles to give access to a particular user. So I hope you've learned on how you can use your policy analyzer as well as a policy troubleshooter to check whether a user has permission to a particular resource. So I hope this was useful. I will see you in the next.